All right, I've got 3 different types of pipe here. I've got downspout drain pipe, which is sort of a rectangular shape. It's a little bit lighter weight than these other 2. This is thin wall 4-inch PVC, like what you would use for sewer lines. And then this is actually a fence panel board that's vinyl, that's hollow in the middle, and so I'm going to try to drill holes in each one of these, and so you can kind of see how the Netcups, this is a Netcup, how the Netcups fit down inside of them. And these Netcups seem to be exactly, you would need a 2-inch hole for them to drop down in and fit on the lip there. So right now I've got the 2-inch hole saw chucked up into the drill, and going to try making this first hole right here. And there's that. Now this Netcup is deeper than the pipe here, so it's going to set up a little bit. It's going to ride up a little bit. And so for that reason, I'm not sure how excited I am about these pipes. We may end up using a foam grip to go around the plant that will fit down in here instead, so that the roots aren't you know, pushed right down to the bottom. But anyway, that's how that one fits in there. Now the thing that I don't really like about the 4-inch PVC is that it's round, so the Netcups are not going to fit nice and flat there. But I see people using them all the time, so that's what we're going to try on this one. And they do fit. Actually, they fit a little better than I thought they would, so that may not be such a bad deal. Now that fits really snug and is nice, and it doesn't want to move at all, yet I can still take it out. So I like that. I don't like the lightweightness of this pipe, but I do like the way the Netcups fit in there. And it looks like it runs about 3/8 of an inch above the bottom of the pipe, which I think also would be almost perfect. Alright, so I've got the main channels cut and got the holes drilled in them for the Netcups, and now I need to have something on the end of the shelf where the water drains down in that I can funnel it back into the reservoir. So I've got these rain gutters, and we're just going to cut a couple of sections of rain gutter that will catch the water as it drips back down in from the channels. And I'm going to make those 22 inches because that'll be a couple inches wider than the actual shelf that I've got. Okay, so these are just vinyl rain gutters that you can get at like Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards or something like that. And I've cut them in lengths that'll be just a couple inches wider than the shelf is. And then of course they've got the brackets. Now you can get 2 brackets that kind of have just the taper on both sides or the kind that go against a flat wall. And so I've got the kind that goes against the wall, and going to put them right on there like that. And I'm going to try to zip tie them. My zip ties may not be long enough here. All right, so now I've got the trough up here that will catch water coming out of these. I've got the trough set up down here that's going to catch water coming out of these. Next thing is going to be to put some tubing in there to channel this water down into, from the top one down to the bottom one, and then from the bottom one on into the reservoir, which we're going to be bringing over here in just a little bit. Now, I do not have these things glued on permanently yet. I want to kind of get the whole system set up and kind of sampled in so that we can see exactly kind of how things are going to work and how it's all going to fit together. And once I'm satisfied with that, then I'll go ahead and make it permanent. Okay, so we've got the shelf. I raised it up a little bit temporarily with just some blocks so that we fit the reservoir underneath here, and so there's some room under here. The next thing we're going to do is take, we're going to be using 1/2-inch irrigation tubing to go from this trough down to here, and then from here into the reservoir. And I'm using a barb fitting that has a 1/2-inch threaded fitting on this side that will drill a hole and put right up in there, and then attach it on and then seal it. And that'll bring the water down to here. Then we'll do it again from there to go into the reservoir. Move it as we can. Okay. And it fits. We'll put this on there. I'll probably cut the back side of this down just a little bit so the water doesn't have to build up. Right now it would have to build up almost 1/2 inch before it would go down the hole, so I'll probably cut that off so it's a little bit shorter. But anyway, that's where that's at, and then it'll the tubing will take it on down back into the reservoir. All right, so now we're going to drill a hole down through the lid here so that the water in here can drain down into the reservoir. That was fast. And that'll fit just like that. So I've got these troughs that are going to be catching the water from the trays over here, and the fittings that I have, the only ones I could really find kind of stick up a little ways in there, so I'm just cutting the tops of them off. I've got them secured and I'm going to seal them in a minute, but I want to just cut the tops of these off with I'm just using a hacksaw blade. That way the water doesn't fill up quite as deep before it starts flowing down into the tube there. And this isn't too terribly difficult, they're just plastic. I've removed the troughs off of the end of the shelves here where the drain back goes back to the reservoir, and I've got the lid getting ready to put in the pump, which is right here. It's just a small pump, but it doesn't need to do very much. And so we're going to be pumping. That's the hole where the water will drain back down into the reservoir. We're going to put another hole in about right here where the water is pumped up to the trays, and then we'll need to put one more hole in that's a little bit bigger for the end of the electrical cord to come up out of the pump reservoir. So anyway, that's what we're going to do next, and then we'll go ahead and reassemble all of this stuff and start putting the pump lines together. So I'm going to want that pump line to come up probably about right there, I think. Very simple. And then we're going to put I think we're going to put the drain or the cord probably over in this corner somewhere. Water draining back in here will flow down into this trough, and water draining in this one all of it will flow down through a pipe that goes back into the reservoir here. The pump is on, or I mean, the pump is down there. If you get down here real close to it, you can hear it when it kicks on. It's very quiet. So anyway, that's the pump coming on. The outflow of the pump is going to come up here, and we're going to run it back along here into the troughs or the trays to feed the plants and feed the nutrient to the plants. And then it's just going to be a cycle that continues to run all day and all night. This is the pump feed hose, and we're going to bring it up, just put an elbow on here, and I'm going to build this kind of as we go. Yeah, a tight fit. I guess we don't have to worry about leaks. Okay, so that will come up here, and then we're going to run the next line along there, and I'm just going to run, I've got a 100-foot long spool of irrigation line there. I'm just going to kind of put it together, and we'll cut it to length as we need it. Okay, there's that. I'm just going to zip tie this to the rail of the shelf. I'll put another one about right there. All right, now we're getting ready to hook up the in-feed side of these lines. And so what we're doing is I've got the main line coming along here. We'll be putting a T right there, which will feed water around the end to these trays. And then it will also feed down to here. And what I've got is an elbow that's going to turn the direction and go that way. A T that will feed this valve. And then it will continue over to another elbow that will feed this valve. And the reason I've got valves on here is to basically just control the flow. We do have a single control on the pump, but I think all that does is restrict the amount of flow that comes out of there. And I think I want to be able to do that at each one of the inlets on each one of these trays. So each one of them is going to have their own adjustment valve, so we can adjust the amount of water going in there. So it's just a little bit of a plumbing thing. I'm going to go ahead and assemble those next, and so you can kind of see how those go together. And just for simplicity, I'm going to assemble the entire thing first, then we'll assemble this one, then we'll connect them all up. And by the way, this irrigation tubing is actually really easy to cut. The hardest part is actually getting the barb fitting up over top of it, because it's a tight fit. But as it warms up in the greenhouse, it's getting easier. Okay, next thing I'll do is probably go ahead and run this one out too. And I bought some hose clamps to go on these, but trust me, they're not going to need it. I'm just going to cut this a little bit extra long and leave it hanging out there for now. And I think put one more zip tie right there. All right, now we're coming down from this T to the lower shelf. Down to this elbow. All right, that'll go right there. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is just put all of this together. All right, so this is a mock-up of how this is all going together. I've already got the tubes that are run inside the trough there. That's going to feed the water inside, the shut-off valves to restrict the flow of water or open it up more. And then all this is still yet to go together, and when it's all said and done, we'll zip tie it right to the frame so it doesn't move, and then it'll be good to go. All right, we've got this one together. You can see how it goes together now. when the valve is in line with the pipe, it lets water flow all the way through. When you turn it sideways, it shuts water completely off. So they'll be somewhere in there, and we don't know where yet, but we'll figure that out. And then these will just fit right down into there, and we're going to zip tie this down so that it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, I've got this one done down here. It's all done. Okay, now I just have to finish putting this one together, and I'm going to zip tie these valves right down to the track. Just to kind of hold the whole thing together. And we will be zip tying these things down as well. Okay, so now that is pretty well stabilized. I'll go this way with it just a little bit. I guess that's as far as I can go. Okay, the last thing to do then is to cut these pieces of tubing so that I can put a elbow in there. And all right, we're down to the final fitting right now, which will go in here. The warmer it gets out here in the greenhouse, the easier it is to slide these barb fittings on. They're not easy either way, but easier. Okay. In theory, this whole thing should work now when I plug this in. So I've got the reservoir about half full of water, and the pump is in there. I'm going to turn it on. We'll see what this thing does. I hear the pump running. I hear something happening. And look at here. Water coming out there. Water coming out here. And it's draining back down into the reservoir just like it's supposed to. So, really the only thing that's left here at this point is to get the flow valve set correctly, which there only needs to be just enough water to kind of keep the bottom of the roots wet. And right now there's way too much coming through there, so I'll have to adjust these things down quite a bit. And then the other thing is to check the pH of the water once we get the reservoir full, and make an adjustment for that, and then figure out what the nutrient combination needs to be in the water so that we can start running a nutrient solution through the system here. Other than that, I mean, it's working exactly the way I hoped it would. All right, can't wait to get the plants in there and get it going. So if you enjoyed this project, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you next time. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell. See you next time.